this is a long time in coming.
Super cool how I saw the hand of God kind of orchestrate what you will now be doing in regards to ministry at the church, which is sort of catching my drips and cleaning up my messes, but also much more than that. The intangibles, a personality like you, a community leader, so many hats you wear, something I just await the Lord to multiply, because he will.
Backstory is that I was born and raised in Palmyra. As an artist, really struggled finding friends, finding people that were musicians, people that were interested in performing arts. And so at the first opportunity I had, I left. I found somebody in Nashville, good friend, ended up living there and doing all the things that I wanted to do, singing and performing and traveling and writing and recording and just doing all that. When I had my second child, I realized I need family. And so we decided to come back up to this area. And I remember Jesse saying, we're going to move to Palmyra. And I was like, I can't, just please, not my hometown, please. I don't want to go there. And he's like, nope, that's where I found a house. That's where we're moving. Difficult the first time, but then the second time we came back with children and I was like, this is the best town to raise a family in. It's wonderful. It's safe. It's inexpensive. There's amenities all around us. Most of my close friends are from other places who have found Palmyra to be a great community. Was able to start a job through the former pastor's wife. She employed me as a music teacher, which I loved. And that's kind of what got me in the door here at Encounter. At the time, it was the lobby. Here I am back in Palmyra, don't really know any musicians still. I'm a mom of almost 3 kids. Well, yeah, it was 3 kids at the time. And I really just was so knee deep in diapers and toddlers and really didn't have a lot of outlets for me. And I was so thankful that Carol Ann introduced us. I remember we had a brief discussion and then I was so excited. I was like, wow, this church really utilizes art. And the fact that I think you had been writing songs at the time. And I was like, this guy writes music. Oh my gosh, this is right up my alley. This is amazing. And so when you brought me on, it was so wonderful to just be able to do my favorite thing, which is worship. I'm so thankful for that meeting.
Yeah, Arissa, I think back on the ministry now, when I took the job as a worship leader, there was like 6 musicians here. I remember that. It was really a wild time. I'll just try to example what could be. And that was what a lot of the writing that you interacted with, and then my brother painting. And there was a bunch of different things like that we tried. But it was smoke signals into the air to the artists that were out there like, we want you, right? Yeah. But you were one of the earlier ones that came forward, and you were so pivotal. Almost like from the womb, you were comfortable doing this. Your dad in his worship leading almost developed like Christian jazz musicians in a way, because just letting people wander up on the stage and just throw down and not know the key changes and everything. And Jake is another one.
Yeah. And
like all you guys kind of like came with that, like we're just going to be able to roll. So that taught culture, and that taught, because I have a personality like that. I'm comfortable with mess, and a lot of musicians aren't. And there's no doubt that your arrival was like very pivotal thing to building the ministry.
Really interesting to think of the evolution of the team to where it is today. I mean, that's like pretty
that?
it's
me,
staggering.
Really
I mean, I guess to me, it's just like, I love coming in. I love worshiping God. I love spending time with the team. A great experience. But to look back, it's wow.
It is wild.
It is wild.
After that meeting, not that meeting, but after that meeting, we come to realize that we're neighbors just haphazardly, which was a wild moment.
So crazy.
We walk out of our houses and we had met. And then it turns out you're the same woman I just met at church. And you're my actual neighbor. Because of that proximity and raising children the same age and everything, we're out making music together. And that turns into the Neighborly, which you and I have done for how many years now?
I think 7.
7 years, yeah. Of all the things that I'm presently involved with that other ministry leaders and worship leaders are interested in, the most interested thing they're interested in is the neighborly.
Mm-hmm.
Worship leaders that I meet, they instantly see what the neighborly could be if they had it. And the neighborly is interesting because people can just see it for whatever they want to see it for. And we just let them, right? But then you and I, being believers and lovers of Jesus, we know it's fish and loaves, and it has been.
Yes.
But that's been amazing. And then that arrives all the way to here when Paige was going to step down because she's pregnant and her family's growing and her life is changing. I did a lot of thinking because the horizons of the ministry are magnificent, but overwhelming too. They're almost like looking at the Alps. And I think about like what's going to be in front of me and what kind of person and ministry partner do I need to take that challenge on? And that's different. You know, there's some similarities because whoever this poor soul is has to deal with me. But there's some things that are very different. And then you also just so happen to be a very system talented person, which is odd. It makes you an odd artist in that way. A tight calendar, and you do those things well, and I don't.
Seeing the change in people's lives, these people going to this church and being involved with this body really, really struck me and impacted me. And I thought, if there's anything that I do with my free time, I want it to be kingdom. I mean, God's doing something great in this town. God's doing something great in this church. He's doing something great in this nation with people coming to him in droves and revival. And it's an exciting time, as dark as it feels and as divided as people are. I see God moving, and I thought, this is the perfect time for this. And like you said, it kind of utilizes a lot of things that I just enjoy doing naturally. So it was a perfect time. Yeah, I'm grateful.
There's so many possibilities. I mean, you just sat through a staff meeting and it's like drinking from a fire hose, right? It's like so much stuff that goes on here that I don't even think maybe as much as 3/4 of the church family even know.
Yeah, there's a lot. This church is a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of things to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even the growth of the particular ministry that we're tasked to lead, like that is ever increasing and growing and changing, and now possibly even geographically, expanding. Yeah. And I'm looking at physical examples of God's faithfulness. It shores you up. Having done this now for almost 10 years, the number one question that the body asks me is, where do all these people come from? I get that over and over and over again. And I never have an answer for them. I just truly do not know. There's not all these like hot spots of art activity going on here or music activity. So when you think about that, and then you think about the type of people, even this is a beautiful thing, like even people who have had church hurt in regards to being in the creatives or being involved in the worship. In so many people's lives when they arrive here, they'll tell me like, this would happen. I'm so hesitant about doing it again. And I've seen time and time again, like it's almost like a hospital for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to God be all the glory for that. I don't even understand how that happens, but it has happened time and time again where people have been able to lick their wounds and get back up on the horse. And if you think about people worship is a weapon. And if you're bringing people if you're bringing warriors off the battlefield, healing them and throwing them back into the fight, this is great. To see that happen too has been beautiful. Helping me with the human level of the ministry a little bit, the vetting level of the ministry, and then the systemizing that just has to happen at a scale this big. And then also into the horizons to come. It's well-earned human capital that you've developed over a lifetime of living well among your neighbors and your community members, which will yield fruit, which quite frankly will be given to the Lord via a church. So couldn't be more thrilled. I'm looking forward to it. It's wild how many different things we have going, but it is funny how some of the mechanics of all of them are similar.
Yeah.
So I don't need to learn to trust you with our families and our spouses and all that. We have all kinds of like cool security stuff in place with that already.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I already know what to expect with you. You know what to expect with me. I always tell everybody, I'm like, Brock is basically my twin brother.
In so many ways.
In so many ways. It's funny. Yeah. I'm super excited to work with you. Like I said, I mean, we have history. We know how each other tick, and
the roots are so deep. Even that is the hand of God, clearly. What do you,
Yeah.
one last question. What are you
Yeah.
most excited about?
Some of the things that I really enjoy about the ministry that are a little different than others is the fact that we have a lot of creativity and we have a lot of creative capital. I mean, I love that you write, but also that you help encourage others to create music. So we're always in the process of new music, writing songs for some team members. I really love that we can encourage that and be a part of that process. I get a lot of feedback about music on Sunday mornings and how influential that is to people in their walks, opportunity and that space for people to worship and come closer to God. I mean, music is my main mode of worship. It comes from a place of vulnerability and authenticity. On a Sunday morning, it's not a show for me. It's something that I just absolutely love to do. And I will, if I'm on the stage, or if you see me standing in the back, I'm going to be the same or in my living room at midnight, with the earbuds in. And I love that. I love being able to be a part of something that you always talk about has been going on for generations, thousands of years. We've been singing to the Lord and making music, and even talked about in the temple literature from the Old Testament.
Yeah,
it's amazing. It's amazing to be a part of that. And that just never loses its luster for me. Connecting people. That's one of my favorite things, is to say, oh, you need this? I know this person, or this person, I know this. So and it doesn't just have to be music or art. It can really be anything. I'm always trying to connect people. So I'm very excited about playing that role as well.
When I first started songwriting, it was completely secular and self-motivated. And it wasn't until I really started trafficking in sacred music, timeless things, right? Mm-hmm. You can take these scales and you can turn them all into like Joy to the World or hymns. It's tapping into purpose and identity with people. Like the reason this stuff like resonates even with people who just call themselves cultural Christians or not even Christians at all is because you think about those Christmas songs, you think about those hymns that your grandmother sang at her funeral or whatever that were sung at her funeral. They graft into a soil so deep. And I think sometimes, like all through the pandemic, that opened up in my mind, like this stuff that we're wielding here. It's so much, it's many dimensions deep to what we even know. At a point when people's words have gone as far as they can go, what's the last couple feet is melody, and music gets to go to that place.
Yes. All
that stuff is amazing as a believer to see all that happen. It's almost so humbling in the mundane of it. Forget what you're trafficking in, which is essentially something sourced in heaven that we don't have the full blueprint of down here, but we someday will. And that's why it's doing what it's doing. It's why it's making the construction worker weep. And it's why it's doing all these strange things. And all the things that it does to a human being is never to be understood until we're home.
Yeah.
And we're just like dealing with this AC, DC electricity, like trying to do something with it.
Yeah.
People will ask you, you don't really know where songs come from. What are these? There's only so many notes.
Well, there's 7 notes. And how many songs do you know? How many songs are there?
It's unbelievable.
I mean, it is really it's a miracle.
It's loaves and fishes in every way.
It's incredible.
And then you think about the physics of it and what sound is doing, what is actually physically doing. And clearly that's not all it's doing.
Yeah.
Because the sound waves are piercing us somehow emotionally. Who even has a crack at understanding that? And yet, as a believer, somehow it's really just there so that you can connect with your maker.
Yes.
In this way that culminates the senses. And
I'm so thankful I had that type of upbringing where I saw the value in worship as a integral part of my relationship with God. And I always felt very strongly that that's one of my roles here, is to teach people about that or show them that that can be possible.
You even teach the other musicians that in your own way. I've seen you do that. You teach them to think of things more expansively than they presently do. And that's a gift to a musician too, even a musician, let alone a non-musician. There are other rooms in this building that you can unlock.
Yeah. Music is healing. I pray for people's healing mentally, physically, every week. I pray that over everyone because, like you said, music can pierce to the heart. It can cut through the walls and the defenses that we have put up. And I think that there's no other time probably in most people's lives that they allow that to happen, except maybe on a Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a powerful
That's very
tool.
thoughtful that we live such siloed lives,
Mm-hmm.
lives of separation from one another. And that's one of the reasons some people just don't like worship, is because it will do that to you.
Yeah.
It will kick up the dirt in your stream. And some people don't like that feeling.
Yeah. It really is almost a necessary experience for a human,
For a human
to have
being.
mental health.
Yes.
Mhm.
Vulnerability, moments of vulnerability where you like are. And a side note, that's exactly what Jesus does to you. Shuffles your deck of cards. He pulls out your blocks to your Jenga set. He messes with your whatever duct tape version of life you got going on. He says, not good enough. This is not what you were made for. And great music has a way of doing that to you, good and bad. It makes you cry, it makes you happy, it makes you want to dance, it makes you want to like get down on your knees and weep. Like, who knows how it does all these things, but it does. Aissa, what a joy it is to be able to minister with you, and what a blessing it is to have you. And I'll speak for the church body. The church body is very blessed that you're here.